Hi Elaine, it's Miss Hawthorne here to talk to you about Gcse Re, what that might entail and what this would look like for you. So we take an in-depth look at two religions. We look in particular at Christianity and Sikhism. We think about their way of life, and so this idea of morality, what is right and wrong within this religion and how they decide what is right and wrong. We look at the key practices within their religion, so how they worship, the key things to do with being part of that faith, going on a pilgrimage, etc. We look at their way of life and how they really put their faith into action. Within this, we think about the big questions, so this idea of judgment in religion, the value of life and why is life valuable for these people, and we think about what might happen when we die. All of this is rooted in looking at the context and the history of these religions, and we look at what it is really like to practice this faith in Great Britain today as well. The other part of our GCSE then is looking at what we call thematic studies, and we look at 4 of these different themes. We think about religion and families, and this is all about marriage. Is divorce acceptable? Contraception, and the makeup of different families. What's the purpose of family? We look at gender roles and gender equality within family and within society. We look at religion and life, and this asks some big questions about abortion, assisted suicide, animal testing, how we as humans use the environment and whether or not that is ethical. We move on to look at the ethics of war. Can war ever be justified? Is protesting right? Should we have nuclear weapons? And this then is paired with our 4th theme, which is looking at crime and punishment. And so within this one, we think about how we treat prisoners. Is our judicial system effective today? What is the purpose of punishing prisoners, and how do we do this? And throughout all of these 4 themes, we look at this from a religious perspective, so from our 2 religions that we've studied, but we also look at this from a non-religious perspective. We need to think about this from lots of different viewpoints, and we need to bring in lots of different disciplines within this. We need to think about these themes and these topics from a theological standpoint, so thinking about religion. We also need to bring in a little bit of history here when we're looking at the history of these things, how they have changed over time. If we look, for example, at the death penalty in the UK and how that has changed over time. We need to think socially about the impact of these things on society, how we as society view these different things and how our thought process and our opinions have shifted and changed. Again, we need to look at this contextually. So what is this like in different places around the world? What are these issues like within Great Britain and within the UK? And so GCSE RS then is made up of 2 components, if you like. Paper 1 is all about religion, and that's where we'll look at Christianity and Sikhism. And then we have a separate paper 2, which is called thematic studies, and that's when we look at some of those more topical and some more of those ethical issues. Both of these papers are an hour and 45 minutes each, and GCSE RS is 100% exam-based. We have 5 questions, if you like, in each section. So these are some similar sorts of skills that you would have been building on in Key Stage 3. And in each paper, you'll complete 4 different sections. And so there is a fair bit of writing involved. These are all things that we'll be practicing, obviously, throughout the course and throughout our lessons. And they will accumulate in an evaluation question, which we have practiced a little bit in Key Stage 3 as well. And so what this will require of you is to be open-minded and to be able to listen to and consider the views and perspectives of other people. You need to be able to see things from a different way of thinking. You might not be religious or you might not belong to a particular faith, but you need to be able to consider how people from that faith or how people from a particular group in society might think about something. You need to be able to give your own opinion and articulate that, and also be open to being critical of this. Why might somebody agree with you, but also why might somebody disagree with you? And you need to be able to give both of those sorts of ideas. You will need to be open to putting in some hard work, to practicing these eloquent arguments and how we put them together, to be confident in practicing how we formulate long pieces of extended writing that are well explained, that are justified, that have considered different pieces of perspective, that have included lots of pieces of evidence. GCSE RS is a really, really interesting GCSE. And if you think that you want to think about the value of religion for individuals, the value of it for society, the role that it plays, and the impact that it really has, then this might be for you. Thank you for listening.